Hello and welcome to week 7. There was a question about when the next posting, the module 7, will be online, and I'm aiming for next week. It might be more toward the middle or end of next week, which is slightly behind schedule, and I do apologize for that. I am working on it as quickly as I can. I thought we might just talk very briefly this week about narrative ethics. You're up to narrative ethics in the reading, and the next module will be an analysis of Lori Moore's story, done by me. It doesn't exist yet, but it's closer than it used to be. And it will be a narrative. It'll be an analysis framed by narrative ethics. And I thought I'd just talk for a second about why narrative ethics. And I've said this a few times in workshop, but I just want to be clear. My main aim in asking you to look at your own fiction in terms of narrative ethics isn't so much because I'm completely enamored by narrative ethics and I want you to be narrative ethics scholars. That would be nice, but that's not really my aim. My aim is to have students look really carefully and reflect on their own fiction. I've tried other approaches in the past. I've had people write craft commentaries on their own work. I've asked students to keep journals, various other approaches. And what I found is I'm always a little bit dissatisfied with the level of their reflection. And I'm not dissatisfied because it's not what I want. I'm dissatisfied because I don't think that they're actually reflecting on their work in a way that's going to be useful to them. So as a kind of antidote to that, I have happened upon narrative ethics. And the reason that I'm asking you to look at your own fiction in terms of narrative ethics is because I think that what it really does, the ethics puts a kind of fine point on it, but what's really important is more the rhetorical positioning involved. In other words, I'm asking you to look at your fiction in terms of what it does to others, how it positions others, how you're using the situation of the narrative act, of the storytelling act. Oftentimes, the actual act of telling is something that we take for granted, where we kind of write using an unspoken template. The act being that some anonymous narrator, well, not anonymous, but some narrator whose position in the world is not especially important, is talking to some reader in the world whose position in the world is not particularly important. And I think that kind of imagining that you're framing storytelling in that way, you're missing out on something. And I think you're not really getting a sense of urgency in the actual storytelling experience. Because there's something in the way the story is being told, in how it's being told, in the moment it's being told, in the structure of the telling, in the need for the telling, in the motives for the telling, in what the story hopes to communicate in the act of telling. Not the theme of the story, but that is the actual act of telling, the situation that I put you in. As I said before, are you listening to a confession? Are you an accomplice in a crime? Am I expecting you to merely accept a story that you already know? Because that has certain ethical obligations. But what's important really is the situation and ethical framing, more than the actual ethics of it. And all that I'm trying to do, all that I'm trying to accomplish, is just get you to have a real close, sustained look at your own fiction and how you think it's working in a particular story on a particular day. And I think that's an accomplishment. See you online.